Well, hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we talk about education, behavior, and boundaries. My name is Matt. I'm a veteran teacher and a board-certified behavior analyst. Today is Independence Day. This is the 250th anniversary of the day that America officially separated from Britain, formally declared their independence. They did not just say it, they declared it.
I declare bankruptcy!
Of course, it's been a while since I've read or heard the Declaration of Independence read, just because that's not usually a document that people just listen to, kind of talk about and what that means for us today. And in my realm, what I see in education that is aligned with the values that were laced out in the Declaration of Independence, and also places where we could probably do better at catching those ideals that were laid out in the Declaration of Independence. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for the ones who hopped on, and if you're watching later, thank you for watching as well. It's good to see you here, and even though you may not be in the chat to correct me on my knowledge or understanding, like filling in those gaps for me in the live stream, you can still do that in the comments, and that would be really helpful as well. And if you like content like this, if you like talking about education, behavior, and boundaries, and hearing the ramblings of a guy who has been serving students for over 10 years across clinics and classrooms and all that stuff, if that sounds like something that you like, hey, go ahead and subscribe, like, give a follow, and share with a friend. Let's get into this reaction here. So I looked up a dramatic reading of the Declaration of Independence just to see. This was the one with the most views, which is surprising because there was a Morgan Freeman one, but I don't know how licensing works, and all the Morgan Freeman ones I saw were really pixelated, and I know they were before AI, so it's not the AI Morgan Freeman voice that we hear everywhere. So yeah, I mean, let's take a look at this. All right, in Congress, July 4, 1776. Here we go.
1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve...
All right. Thank you, Mr. Scott. And I have this at 1.5 speed, just so it goes by a little faster.
...political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
Okay, so my understanding of that is he's saying as we're given certain God-given rights, and if we're going to separate, if there's a disagreement like this, we need to talk about what caused it. This is America's breakup letter to Britain. Plain and simple. Beautiful language in it. I am floored by how young a lot of these drafters were, because man, if my writing was just a fraction of this pretty and beautiful, oh man, we'd be in business. That'd be cool.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes...
That's huge. That, let me go back there. Governments aren't instituted among men, so we get our government from the population, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. We don't wait for permission of the government. They have to get permission from us to carry out these laws, because we as a society choose these laws and things like that. And that was a big thing. I want to do more research and just kind of like get into a rabbit hole of what built up to this moment, because I know there was taxation without representation, things like that. But I've also seen other, I guess, amateur historians who have said the taxes weren't really that bad, the blah, blah, blah wasn't really that bad, and things like that. It was just the principle of the thing. And then there was that tea tax, and that kind of went crazy because they didn't really have a lot of say in what was going on. So they're talking about that. This is the biggest line. unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We have the right to life. We have the right to liberty, to freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. And liberty means something different too. Because people think liberty and freedom are the same thing. And they're not. Liberty, the state of being free from oppressive restrictions or control imposed by authority. The freedom to live, act, and express oneself without undue interference. Again, the key word there is undue. Obviously, if you're hurting yourself or you're hurting others, then that would be due interference. That would be a problem. And the possession of rights and autonomy within a society. So, protection of individuals, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to vote. That's political liberties. So, liberty is freedom. It does have bounds, though, to liberty. You can't hurt yourself and you can't hurt others. And so, like, it can't infringe on that, I think. That's kind of how I've heard it before. We have is a fundamental power to, the real meaning of liberty, the fundamental power to act, speak, and live without arbitrary interference and oppressive constraints. However, true liberty is not the unchecked ability to do whatever you want. Rather, it is living under a just, balanced rule of law that protects personal autonomy while ensuring the safety and rights of everyone. Okay. Well said by Merriam-Webster. Thank you. All right. Let's see here.
Of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such forms as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
It's so good. And I think this is the difference between just separating yourself, and when they say abolishing, of course, there's, I know, like anarchy, but the way that, like I said, my knowledge is so limited on how the founding fathers and the founding Americans went about this, because it wasn't anarchy. It was a formal declaration of war, and they went through different legal things, I'm sure. In fact, my wife and I were talking how I would like to know how they conducted wars, because I know they didn't like, a lot of the wars happened, and even this Declaration of Independence happened in the summer months, and there has to be a reason for that. I know there was the battle. What was the battle that Washington fought? Again, I'm going to go to good old Google. It was AI before AI, kids. So I'm going to go to good old Google. What was the war where Washington lost men to the cold? And if anybody's in the comments, let me know. It was during the American Revolutionary War. Valley Forge. Yeah, this devastating loss of life occurred at the Continental Army's winter encampment at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, from December 1777 to June 1778. All right, so it started in December, so you're getting into those winter months of January and February, and even March. So it was a harsh winter. So I'm sure they had to sit down with the opposition and say, hey, we're losing guys. Y'all are probably losing guys. Let's schedule this battle for the summer. Like, they sat down and scheduled it like a Zoom meeting. Was it like a Zoom meeting? I don't know. So that's another thing. I just want to find, with the copious amount of free time that I have and probably you have, let's look into that. Okay, here we go.
Indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
I'm sorry, guys. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. All right, that's good. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms of which they are accustomed to. Yeah, my understanding of that, and like I said, correct me in the chat, and correct me in the comments if you're seeing this later. It seems that they're saying here it's a little more comfortable just to put up with it than to fight it, to be fair.
more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient suffering.
Man, this is hearing this and like sitting down and thinking about what they're saying and how they're saying it with the passion. Man, you can hear the passion behind this pen, right? Like it's convicting, really. Like, oh my goodness. Let's just hear that
government
again.
And to provide new,
because they said it would be more comforting, it would be more comfortable to stay, just to put up with these evils, just to not really worry about it. But they start the sentence with "but," capital B, but, when a long train of abuses and what is that, usurpations? Oh, you usurp authority, pursuing invariability. So the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for the future security. We're thinking about our kids. We're thinking about our grandkids. Like, yeah, we can put up with this, but how much worse is it going to get for them? And then, so that's why that was the ideals America was started with, and that's really cool. Not saying America's perfect, because men aren't perfect. It was made by men, and then in the governance, like it's the human race is not a perfect race by any stretch of the imagination, but what makes human beings so I guess resilient is our teachability, the ability that we have to look back on history, see what didn't work, and then apply what we learned. We would call this again, we talked about response shaping, but this is positive and negative reinforcement, as well as positive and negative punishment, where there was an aversive thing that happened and I don't want that to happen again. Or reinforcement, a preferred outcome happened and I would like to repeat that. So really,
new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
Okay, the way that I heard that, I don't know if y'all heard it this way, they're about to lay out some receipts. I say, let the facts be laid out to a candid world. Oh, let's be candid for a second, huh? Let's just... All right, he has
refused his assent to laws. The most wholesome...
Okay, assent. We actually have this in a lot of... Because I do some telehealth ABA, and we have what we call goals of assent. Assent is, can we get you to show up to the meeting? Because, you have... It's if you're doing telehealth with a client, but they just refuse to come to the meetings, that would be a goal. Let's just get them to come to the meetings. That would be a goal of assent. He has refused his assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. So assent means the law doesn't seem to apply to him in the same way it does to the regular population. And that's not a good thing. We call this now double standards, right? Anybody? We got like two standards that are... Yeah. So
necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public record for the sole purpose of...
That's insane. So he's making it convenient. It sounds like he's making it convenient for for some districts and not others. I didn't catch exactly why. Maybe because there was a bigger population, or because it didn't say money. Like the cynic in me wants to say, oh, because they have more money, and that was probably a reason. But I want to be objective here, as someone who is looking 250 years in the past, through this small window that we have in the past, and for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance in his measures. So not only was he just preferring the others, but he didn't want any small squeaky wheels, so he would make the meetings in places that were inconvenient to where people just could not make it. We didn't have plane, we didn't have train, we didn't have automobiles. People physically could not get there. And he's like, well, if you show up, you have a vote. If you don't show up, then sorry. Which, again, Great Britain, not too huge. But you could see how that voyage will be really tough for, I don't know, the 13 colonies to travel across the pond and make those votes for things that affected them.
Fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to...
Oh, okay. I remembered one of the things that Britain was doing was in the homes of the colonists. I think there was a law, and again, history teachers, anybody who knows history better than I do, show up in the chat or show up in the comments and let me know. But I believe that he passed a law, like a mandate, an order that said if a soldier knocked on your door at 2 a.m., you were required to let them in and let them stay, have a place for them to stay. That probably means you gotta, if you have a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, that means you're sleeping on the couch. They're sleeping in the bedroom kind of thing. And that could be problematic for so many different reasons. And I think for me, it sounds like so evil. And this is the thing about charity. It would be one thing if there is a beaten down soldier in the middle of the night knocking at your door and say, dude, I just need a place to sleep. And you're like, yes, that's fine. Come on in. It would be one thing if it was a choice by the head of the household, by the husband and wife. That would be different because that would be charity. But the thing about charity is that charity has to be a choice. Charity cannot be mandated. So, and that's what he was doing. It seems like, if I remember correctly, again, my history teachers correct me in the comments and in the chat, but if I remember correctly, excuse me, that's what was going on. And whenever charity is now an order, and you take away that choice, then it creates bitterness, and the people are like, I want to break up, right? So let's see.
Be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his essential laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries.
Yeah, this is that single party system. This is why we have checks and balances in the U.S. Because just one person had too much power. And I know this isn't a political thing. It's because I'm sure it's always good to compare our current government to the government in the past. And I could see, but it's also comes to, I don't think it's the same thing. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess, type thing. But everybody has their paradigm because there are people on the left and right that could literally use this on the opposition, which is why I think it's such a great document, because it is truly neutral and super passionate with the American spirit of there's some everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everybody, that's a God-given right. That is above man. Even if you're not a religious person watching this, when we think God-given, I heard an atheist talk about this. He's atheistic, but atheists have morals too. They're not bad people, but they understand when they look at these documents and they see God. There is something higher than human reasoning and human morality. And maybe I'm not steel manning their argument and things like that, but there are God-given rights. For me, I believe in God. I'm a Christian and all the things. So we look at that, But I also have some atheist friends who are like, I just understand there is something higher than our thinking. And even agnostics who are like, I know it's something, I just don't know if it's a Christian God, I don't know if it's a Jewish God type thing. But it's an understanding of there are just certain rights that people are born with. Just the fact that you're a human being, you're a person, means that there is something divine about us. And I hate to say divine again, like atheists, agnostics, if you're not a religious person, you can show up to the chat, show up to the show up to the comment section. Let me know. But if I understand, like, God given is like there's a superior authority that we all submit to as human beings. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? That's my thoughts. But let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislators. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, or protecting them by a mock trial, from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So I'm assuming not only did they have to like accommodate the soldiers, but if the soldiers did anything against them, whether it's property, but God forbid, whatever else that soldiers can do in your home, they would be put on trial and then be acquitted, it seems like. Dude, that's diabolical, man. Oh my Lord. I know Britain ain't like that now, but man, that's a crazy, crazy thing. I know there's shows on this. I just haven't seen them. And I know they're super dramatized, but is that what was going on? Like I said, let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments. We'll see.
For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. Man,
on top of that, they're not even, it's out like I said, they are giving out receipts. These are a list of grievances here. So not only are these soldiers being given mock trials where they're acquitted, but then people who are in the colonies who are expressing their grievances are not even given trial. They're just sent straight to jail or things like that. Let's see, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. So you have to get on a ship and travel.
Offenses.
Crazy.
For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies.
Wow.
For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. For suspending our own legislators and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people.
There's some pain in this, man. Whew, there's some pain in this.
He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands.
This is crazy. I'm telling y'all, like, it's basically my first time reading the Declaration of Independence. Like, I'm sitting here, I think last time I read it, I was in my early to mid 20s, and now I'm sitting here in my early 30s, and it's just, man, I guess I'm just understanding this. So for those who are watching, arms against their country to become the executioners of their friends. So England, seems like Britain, was taking, I would assume, very skilled soldiers, very skilled warriors, and saying, look, you work for us. You kill your friends. You kill your brethren. Or we'll kill you. That's wild. That's wild. And it wasn't going to be a quick death either, I don't think. That's not, because I would assume with the faith I have in humanity, most people would say, yeah, just kill me. So I would assume it would have to be a long and painful death for that to hold weight. And man, that is insane. That's insane. Oh man.
Is excited domestic insurrections among us.
Which, to be fair, from what we know, from what the tilt is with history, King George was a little insane at this time in history. He was going into mental descent and things like that. So, at least that's what I learned from Hamilton.
And has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress.
On top of that, they're dealing with different Native American tribes and things like that. And I say they're dealing with, there's two sides to history, and the winner writes the history books, so I understand that and the nuance in that. And this is also 250 years ago, so in no way can I look back. I can look back on what they're writing here and saying, wow, that's messed up. This was like, could you imagine if Reddit was a thing back then? Like if the founding fathers said, hey, am I the jerk? Right? Am I the bad person for thinking this? Or it's just it really is like I'm reacting to this like it's almost like a Reddit thread in a way, but that's such a cheapening of this document. But in that, like you could look at these people and also think, well, what would the Native Americans say about you guys coming in to inhabit? Like, and that's not saying that they're bad people or good people. I just think there's perspective that's worth considering, because in the Westerns I've seen, Native Americans had their families killed by I'm sure some colonists, maybe Great Britain as well, and I know that colonists and British soldiers had their families killed by Native Americans. Like, there was killing on both sides. More than likely, it was in the spirit of reciprocity. But still, just sad. It was sad. It was a crazy time, man, when this was written. And there's just so much. There's so much I don't know, ultimately. There's so much I don't know, and so much I need to educate myself on just to get back to the roots of this. But, oh my goodness.
In the most humble terms, our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people.
Whew. They are calling out King George, man. They are calling out King George.
Nor have we been wanting in attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded...
Hold up. Nor have we been wanting in attention to our British brethren. All right, so we don't want them to see us. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislator to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and the settlement here. So, we don't want any trouble. We don't even want y'all to know we're here. We just want to chill. We want to go along, get along. That's what we want to do. And we're reminding y'all of the circumstances of the agreement that we signed, that we got in a room together and talked about this.
them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence.
Yeah, so they've appealed, like, look, we're trying to make peace here.
They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of
I'm going to let him read it, then I'll talk about it.
sanguinity. We must, therefore, acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends.
Oh, that's so proper. That's so proper. Enemies in war, but in peace, friends. It's nothing personal, dude. It's nothing personal. However, try Jesus, not me. Try Jesus, not us. Right? Because we throw hands. We throw arms. We got friends. We got... Wow. All right, so they too, meaning that I'm assuming, from what I understand, the British soldiers, the British officers, they've been deaf to the voice of justice, and that's a word I don't use often. Consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce to the necessity which denounces our separation. Okay, so we had no other choice but separation. Like, we've tried to work it out. We try to talk through it. We try to get in rooms. We've done all this stuff. The only option, the only reasonable option that we have is separation. So yeah, like, I mean, and we're gonna hold you like the rest of mankind, right? Like, we used to be brothers, but now we're barely acquaintances. Just like we would with Spain, just like we would with France, just like we would with what other countries we're going. I mean, even I guess Native Americans at that time, those tribes. Maybe was Russia a thing back then? Was it called Russia? Maybe Prussia. But either way, even though we came from y'all, we're separating, and we're gonna view y'all like this: you're enemies in war, and when we're in peace, we're friends. But that's it.
As we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the supreme judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states.
Yo, I got chills. Man. Oh man, they're going off. They're going off.
They have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Wow. I need to read the Declaration of Independence more often. Or have it read to me, like I just did. Because, man, music was kind of hyping me up, too. That was incredible. And it's so easy to look at a history book and see people as pictures and events as just random facts. But the stories, the emotion, and the logic. That's the thing. It was an emotional, passionate document, but there was so much logic. There was so much thought. Like, we've tried so many things. We have receipts. Email wasn't a thing, right? We none of that was a thing. We have receipts. Y'all are in the rooms, and y'all just refuse to have any sort of agreement. Y'all keep infringing on our rights. You know what? We're done. In war, we're enemies. In peace, we're friends. And we're in war. And now we're separating. Now we have the right to make alliances. We got rights to do blockade. We got rights to do all the things y'all can do. I love like the tone of, hey, we're a country too now. Not a big deal. Like, y'all are a country, we're a country. It's cool. We try to be part of your country. We wanted to be a part of your country. It didn't seem like that was going to happen. So, we're just going to start our own country.
What, like it's hard?
That was so good. Man, that was so good. Thank you. Thank you to the people who showed up for the live stream. Thank you for those who are watching this as a video. Man, that was an incredible document. Happy 250th, America. Man. I just feel like if you're watching this and you're in a toxic relationship, just go to Declaration of Independence for a good breakup letter, a good breakup text, man. Like, that's poetry, literal poetry. Like, it's just so good, so classy, man. So that's good. Well, guys, thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for showing up to the live stream. If you like this and want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new uploads, any new live streams. I am planning to do live streams every Friday. I will update you on the times of that. So if you ever want to hop in, drop in, leave some comments, and let's hang out, that'll be cool. I will the current format is going to be kind of, I respond to a few comments I got throughout the week, as well as respond to a piece of content like I did today. That could be, I know I responded to Abbott Elementary before, Wicked Like Movies and things like that. I like to respond to music videos. I respond to music videos with the understanding that those will not be monetized, but that's fine because they're fun and they offer good talking points and good conversation, and that's what I'm really here for. The lights are on, bellies are full, so thankfully I don't rely on this for income. So I can still do fun stuff like that. So that's always fun. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you guys next Friday.